So probably most of you have a digital camera or not. Or at least a cell phone with a camera function. So perhaps you have transferred these pictures to your laptop and try to print one or another.
Sorry, what's the name of the spec? For which spec is it?
Yes.
Hardware or?
No, one has put it into package selection.
Package selection.
Okay. Yes, but it was not me. I put it into other because I didn't see anything which fits. And then someone has put it into package selection, but I think it is also not correct. Here is the page of the blueprint.
I'll try to print these later.
Yes, try to print this photo.
Okay, create a new.
So let us at first go to the default photo application. It got shot well for some reason. I didn't like it so much as with F-Spot you could have, if you had a photo which was a little bit tilted, you could correct it with F-Spot. You cannot do it with Shotwell. But this is not part of this meeting. So you see here photos, several photos. They have these photos are in this directory are shot with the same camera, but you see already some are vertical, some are horizontal, and these photos are bitmaps, which are only specified by length and width in pixels, and not by absolute size in centimeters or inches. And this is very important for printing photos because, in contrary to office documents are always defined by a paper size, which is a given amount of inches or centimeters. And so photos have to be treated a little bit different. Especially, it's very important that the user can easily choose the paper size, because the photos have no absolute size, and there are different photo papers available on which you can print. You get the postcard size standard photo printer, 6 by 4 inches or 15 by 10 centimeters. Then you get a little bit bigger, 5 by 7 inches, 13 by 18 centimeters, and also A4, or you can even have a large format printer with A3, A2, A1, A0. And all of these are capable of printing photos as long as you have a driver for them. For very many printers we have a driver, and the driver works very well. You see it if you print a test page or if you print a document with OpenOffice. But for the photos we have some usability issues and also even bugs where no one really took care of. I have the feeling that especially also the print function is not enough tested. It's very important for a desktop application, and if you are developing on a desktop application or packaging a desktop application, also to try out the print function and to see whether it really works. So the first...
Will it generally be enough to print it to a PDF file?
Yes, for testing you can print it to a PDF file, and you can also see, when you see in the PDF viewer, the properties, for example, whether the file is the right size. So you don't need to waste paper to test the print function.
Or if you don't have a printer in the first place.
Yes. Yes, I select a photo.
Who's C profit? Me.
That you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm watching up here, so.
File, and then print.
Thanks for.
What the user intuitively does, he clicks on one of the photos he sees and clicks then File and Print. And then you get this one. I have very many printing queues because I'm the one who does the printing stuff for Ubuntu and for open printing. And so I'm testing with a lot of drivers and so on. So let's find a printer which is a photo inkjet here, this one for example, Photos Mark 3, yes, 309A. This is a photo inkjet printer from HP. And now I have chosen the printer. And now I go into page setup because I want to see whether I have the correct paper size. And I see the paper size is set to US letter paper. And I see also I can change the paper type easily to photo paper and the paper source to the photo tray. But I cannot set the paper size. It's grayed out. And here in image settings, there's nothing to change the absolute paper size. I can say whether it should fill the paper completely or whether it should print a smaller, it should print a given size. But if I give a size here, it prints this given size on the letter paper and wastes all the rest of the letter page. So this does not help me too. And then I look, what do we have? Quality we can also set, and color we can set, but we can nowhere set the paper size. So users are lost. They click through these menus and think, I cannot set the paper size. And when they simply print, they get a picture somewhere on a letter sheet or in letter size, and they want 4x6 and or so, because they have only 4x6 photo paper. And so they are somewhat lost.
As a question, so when
It works in this program, but it is not intuitive, because you have to, what you have to do is you have to get into another dialog first, into page setup. Then you have to again choose your printer here, because otherwise you have no access to the right paper sizes, as the photo paper size is not available on laser printers, only on inkjets. And then you have to choose here the paper size. Here. And then you have also, this is a portrait format. The second image is a landscape format. You have also to set here the right format. And then apply. And only then you can go into the main printing dialog. And then you have the right paper size. And with this setting field, the entire page you can correctly print. So it is very, very complicated. It's ridiculously complicated.
Is the way that they're choosing that we have to choose the paper size differently, is that consistent with applications across Ubuntu, or is it only our default photo application that seems to have this complexity?
This complexity you have in all GNOME photo applications.
Right.
If you take F-Spot, you have the same problem.
Right.
And GIMP and so on. And then, yes.
So if I may, I'm the developer in shop. Well, me and Adam.
You're a developer of what?
This photo application.
Yes.
So this is the standard GTK print architecture. We're just following. This is why F-Spot has the same problem.
Yes.
The only thing so far in these print dialogues that we've contributed, we have control over, is this pane right here, the image setup.
Yes, yes.
That's a custom pane that we
Yes.
developed. So, as far as the paper size and so forth, we need to get the GNOME people involved in that conversation. We're just following their architecture. They've told us this is how they want us to do printing, and we're following their guidelines. And we do want for our printing to seem like everybody else's. We want it to match the look and feel on the desktop. But I can understand why you would be frustrated in this particular process, because it's not necessarily intuitive.
So it's a problem that with GNOME people need to fix. I don't know whether we have any person here who has something to do with GNOME.
Well, I have a question for you for the GNOME guidelines. Is there potential to put a button at the bottom of this dialogue, that instead of having to go back out to printer setup, you'd be able to hit a button and to bring the printer setup up?
I've seen it in one application. I don't know which application it was. Perhaps I of GNOME or so.
It's possible, I mean, it could be, I don't know, I have to look into it. It does feel though that that's, I don't know, I'm always suspicious of modal dialogues, opening modal dialogues, opening modal dialogues. I mean, it's kind of hacking around the problem. It seems to me, yeah, I think we're on the same page. It's,
Yes.
I think what
This
we're trying to figure out is there some clean way that we can
Set the page size.
Exactly.
Here's another example.
Out of interest, it seemed that GIMP does it quite a lot better, so it allows you to position the photo on the page and to scale it and so on. So is that using like a customized printing?
Yeah. I mean, what I'm talking about is just a subsystem to generate a print job
Right.
and then send it to the printer. What GIMP and some other applications have are better. You know, this is something we would like to focus more on and show.
Yes, now I want to show an example which is somewhat better, and I think it is, yes.
We had a question from IRC. Is Ubuntu going to use any of the open printing UI stuff? And I didn't know if anybody was qualified to answer that question.
The open printing UI stuff is now, we have now funding for it, so that the work goes on. And we will finish it, complete it with this funding in June 2011. And this means that we can get it in the 11.10 edition.
And what is the open printing UI? I'm not familiar with it.
Yes, this is a common printing dialog. And this is one dialog developed by, designed by Open Usability. And it is one user interface based on usability investigations for KDE and GNOME. It is coupled to the applications by a dbus interface. So the same dialog appears on different applications, independent which toolkit they are. The dialog comes from the desktop, which is currently running. And it is made with usability in mind. I can show it also. It is made with also with feature completeness with CUPS in mind, so it is assured that all features which CUPS provides for printing are accessible by the dialog. And it has also things, it supports also things like internationalized PPDs, and the PPDs can contain hints so that better widgets are shown for the options, and a lot of new things which make the use of the printing dialog easier. I will show it later today.
So then is that destined to become the new standard print dialog for all GNOME applications, or?
Yes, it should get a standard for all GNOME applications and all KDE applications.
Okay.
And even applications which are not GNOME or KDE applications like OpenOffice should use the dbus interface so that they also open the desktop's common printing dialog.
Okay, that's great to know, but that's coming then in a couple of release cycles, it sounds like.
Yes.
Not quite yet.
Because the problem was why it took so long. We started with the designing in 2006 on the Open Printing Summit in Atlanta. The problem was finding volunteers and funding. We didn't find volunteers working on this. No one wants to program voluntarily on printing stuff. It's not such an interesting subject for the voluntary programmers. And then we tried to find funding. We went through through several Google Summer of Codes and did not get many good students. We got some good students who did some stuff, but also bad students who didn't really come out with something. And so it took its time, but now we have funding to complete it. and the completion will be in June.
So the open printing guys, they will do this dialogue, but there was like no discussion yet on the GNOME side to be using this. So I don't see GNOME using it in the next year. Like,
yes,
nobody,
it was
nobody
presented. It was presented on a GNOME summit, and the GNOME people told, if we provide patches so that one can simply drop it in,
yeah, so
then they take it.
it's not any close to being GNOME yet. So it's
Yes.
not going to be
Yes,
this cycle. It's not going to be next cycle.
Yes, yes. In June we will have these patches ready.
So
The
let's
question is open.
yeah, but let's see next cycle. I'm just saying there is no decision made on GNOME yet. So
Got it.
like,
Good to know.
don't count on it yet. We
Okay.
still need like to start this discussion and see what's going.
Sure, sure.
So a little this is a very high effort to get the problem solved. To have a small to work to get us to get it towards the solution by a smaller effort until we really will have a common printing dialogue. One thing we can see here, this is Eye of GNOME. This is the tool which appears when you double click a photo in the file manager. It has, probably with a little bit of programming effort, a nice way to solve the problem which I've shown with Shotwell. You see here's no page setup. Here's only print in the menu. I click on print, and you see the normal GNOME printing dialog. I choose again a photo inkjet printer. Then you see this is the page setup, and do you see the difference?
Is there any paper size at all?
Yes.
Oh, there. What is that
Yes,
symbol?
and you see it's black, it's not grey. You can click on it and can choose your paper size on the place where you expect your paper size.
So the widget is there in Shotwell as well? It's
Yes, yes, they have dropped away the page setup dialog and made the widget, they made the widget for the paper size active so that you can intuitively set the paper size.
Do you know how much control you actually have about this dialog? I
I
would have expected it to be fairly standard.
I think
I need to look into it.
I think
but,
a little patch on Shotwell can achieve this.
yeah,
And also the same little
I don't know. I don't know that that's true. I don't know why. This is true for Shawa or for GNOME and not Shawa. It's we just call a standard dialog and say open, and we inject a pane and a callback, which is the other image settings that. that we
Perhaps you
can-
should look into the source code of Eye of GNOME, and then you will find how this works.
Right.
Because this is a very little step, which is even possible in theory after string freeze, as it does not introduce new UI stuff. It uses even the same UI which you already
My
have.
concern, and this
It
is
does
this-
not need new translations even.
What's in the, what I'm
So
concerned
you are
about
very
is that
flexible
I have known as a
considering-
legacy app,
Well,
and if they're using an older version of the API,
No, it's not a legacy app. It's like either this made a daily recycle is using the new GTK stream.
Okay.
I've looked in the Debian changelog of Eye of GNOME, and I've seen that this change was done for Maverick, and so we
Okay.
use it in Maverick.
well, that's,
So it's not a remaining
Well,
old
that's maybe-
interface, it's a way to fix this problem which someone has actively done. Someone was independent whether by my blueprint or not, because blueprint is only 2 weeks old, I think therefore independent by my blueprint. He was also aware of that photo printing is ugly and has fixed it in Eye of GNOME.
So as an action item here then, is there currently a bug entry, either in Launchpad or in, I can say in Shotwell's bug database, I don't believe this has been noted. I don't know if someone's created a bug entry for this in Launchpad, but again, I'd like to think this shouldn't be a huge deal since it seems like it was a small change in algorithm. And so if someone wants to create a bug entry, we can certainly look into it.
We should report bugs against Shotwell and F-spot, for example, telling that IOP GNOME does it correctly and they should do it the same way.
I would like to start.
Up to now, I've only the blueprint.
I would like to start checking with the GTK guys why the default is like not to have this one on. Like it should be on for all application. It seems.
Absolutely.
I think-
I want to check with Alexander who wrote like the GTK printing, like API and everything. Why is I get like 2 dialogues to start, and why is this one not like on by default?
Exactly. I mean,
Okay, do you want the help in action?
Yeah, so I will take an action item to check with you guys.
Okay, but I
And
guess
we should also make, work here on getting the better usability instead of keeping on standards which are not very suitable for the application, which is photo printing here.
Like the printing dialog, it's not for the cycle, so let's
Yes,
just next
and
time.
therefore we should use these small steps so that in the year or so until the common printing dialog will come, that we already have usability for our users.
So I have a larger question here. So it's actually great to have people in the room who care a lot about photo printing, because in developing Shotwell, we only added printing, I think in 2005. It was surprisingly late in the cycle, and I think that if we had built Shotwell 5 years ago, people would have wanted to print more. But today, everyone just shares photos online, and so printing has become a little bit secondary. But as long as we have people in the room who care about photo printing, in terms of our printing features, I mean, today in Shotwell it's quite primitive in that you can print only one photo at a time, and it appears in the center of the page, right? And if you look at photo apps on other platforms, you have a lot of fancy features, like you can print, for example, and you can say I want X by Y photos on the page, and you can choose the size of each one. You can choose borders, you can choose mattes.
Yes, I can show you even a Linux application, which is in Universe, which does that.
if Adam could finish his question.
But so the question is just simply, in terms of fancier printing features, what do people want to see prioritized in Shotwell? Like beyond the current one photo per page, no border, no background color. Do people need more than that?
Well, I'll answer from someone who advocates in K-12.
Yeah.
I would think that printing hasn't died there because kids have to print out, teachers have to print out artwork, and I would definitely want to see something where you're able to go ahead and, like we were talking earlier, I'd want to see it so I want these 5 pictures printed, and then I would want a dialogue that says, you know, we want 4x6, 3x5, and kind of have a graphical representation of how those pictures are going to fit on the page and the number of pages that's going to take. So if I pick 8x10, obviously I'm going to be going ahead, and if I pick 3 photos, that's going to be 3 pages to show me with a little preview of it being full size. If I pick 4x6, I think you get 2 up and down and 1 sideways on the page, and you're taking up 1 page. And if you do 3x5s, and I would actually restrict people. I don't know if I'd be so open as saying, you know, do 100 pictures on the page if they'd be minuscule, and then people would be upset. So, you know, the smallest I go to is like the size of a 35mm film slide, kind of what I call it as a preview shot or a what?
you want to print your own stamps there.
Yeah. You know, and as long as you have that, I think it would be.
You can say like
yeah,
collages.
I took a picture. Yes, I took a picture. I hope you hear me. But I think that's very important for the end user, not so much someone who knows GIMP well and can do that kind of layout themselves and shrink and reduce pictures, but for something where the program's going to handle it automatically, where you've got younger students or teachers who aren't maybe familiar with the photo editing program. I think that would be really important, potentially if you're the default application in the distribution for handling photographs. I would think that's important.
Well, in terms of printing photos N by M on the page, doesn't the standard dialog already allow something like that?
I
pages
will
at once or something?
I will look.
But I guess the problem would then be that you have to select multiple photos for printing at the same time.
Right. Which
But
is
so
not what you can already
I will see.
In Shotwell, you can already do a multiple selection, but when you do that, the print option is grayed out, because obviously they're doing one print.
Okay.
But you can hit Control and hit Windows
I will
applications.
see
You
what
have
happens if
checkboxes
I mark
and check underneath.
the first 4 photos, and
So that wouldn't help you in this case, to
and
print
then
like 4
I
pages
click
on
on
one.
print. No, Shotwell does not support it. If I mark more than one photo in Shotwell, the print option gets grayed out.
Does it seem to be like an easy way to reuse that?
It's true, although that one I think limit you to probably only like 2 by 2. I don't know if it will.
Well, 2 by 1 and 2 by 2, 1 by 2 of course. I think these are the standard options. I guess for standard, like if you print out slides or
you might want them.
normal text, you probably don't want to read it at 3 pixel size.
Right.
At the same time, in print out photos, you probably don't want them to be stamps either. So maybe 2 by 2 is already good.
Well, typically the sizes, at least in the U.S., and it might be different for different countries, it's usually going to be 8 by 10s, 5 by 7s, 4 by 6, 3 by 5 in wallets.
Yeah,
So
these
this
are
is
like
F
small
spot
standard
now.
photo sizes that you would get them in this format.
Yep.
F-Spot has printing still active when I mark for photos. F-Spot allows it. Here you can say photos away.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, they're not really
And
showing
F-Spot
you.
has also the button that you can break out to the set page size and orientation, but it's still this awkward dialog where you have to choose the printer again,
Right.
even that you have chosen it already in that dialog. So the straight way, so I recommend here also to modify it to the straight way, that in the page setup the page size gets selectable instead of having a page setup dialog.
And by the way, all this business about choosing the paper size, is that purely for photo printers that have multiple sort of sizes of paper that they can choose from? That's what this is about?
Yeah, because
Yes.
most of your inkjets have a small slot, which is similar to your envelope slot, and people will feed 4 by 6 photo paper into it.
And also usually it is more rare that you print photos in your document standard size letter or A4. But inkjets, for example, many inkjets which are used at home and have no laser printer at their side are also used for websites and documents. And so with the inkjets you print up sometimes A4, sometimes 4 by 6 and so. So you cannot simply set the default paper size of the inkjet to 4 by 6 and then don't need to care about paper size.
So I did copy the Bloomberg number from the air of Bloom change in Gobi. It's like a few lines change.
Yes.
There's an API in GNOME. There's a GTK print operation set embed page setup, which is like embedding the page setup in the print dialog in a way.
Oh great, this might be like a one-liner.
Yes. So
Yes, and now I also want
to
to...
the bug if you want to have a look.
Let me ask you, you were also going to put a bug in the launchpad, right?
I'm still going to check with upstream why that's not the default. and
Okay,
it's
okay,
a
right.
change, but like, so
Yeah.
no change that is small.
Let me,
Jim, maybe you can fix the bug in this room.
Well, I noted down an action item to report a bug upstream if that if that turns out to be intended.
right,
Like they've got a good reason to not enable it by default, but then because
yeah, I'd be curious
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Yes. And if it's only a small change to activate it, then GNOME guys don't want this usability, but to follow their internal standards, which are not very suitable for photos, then perhaps if it's a few lines to change, we can run it as a Ubuntu patch.
Yeah, there should be no need for an Ubuntu-specific patch. I mean, I think that all of us in the room want the most usable and
Yes, I hope
consistent
so
solution,
too.
so.
This is only the last mean if we don't get it. Right. So everyone look now. Now I will actually print from F-Spot. Do you see? Printing also needs some more QA in the applications. F-Spot has crashed. So you can, with Maverick, this is even an SRU bug where one should make an SRU. With Maverick, you cannot print at all with F-Spot. I hope this was not the reason to switch to Shotwell. But there are many users who have updated from Lucid, and they continue to use FSpot, and I think for these users we should fix that.
Yeah, it seems kind of working on Trace.
Yes. This bug is linked. This bug I have linked to the blueprint.
So the idea is that you set it once.
So now everyone knows how to close Shotwell. File, print, and Shotwell is closed. You don't need to go the long way through the menu to get to the last point, which is closed. So
I did copy the link for the numbers and IRC.
Okay.
Great.
So this is GIMP.
This was closed last month. I mean, this is recent stuff.
Yeah.
And in GIMP you have also the page set up. Here we could perhaps apply the same patch to fix that. And then you have the printing dialog itself, print. And GIMP has one nicely meant feature of that you can use a little preview to adjust how the picture should appear on the page. If they had made a little bit more of QA and checked whether the feature actually works, because you don't see the little preview. You have to work in the dark by typing in the numbers, because this little preview is not appearing. Yes, you see only a frame and not the picture. And the frame even does not appear all the time. And another thing is, if you actually print with GIMP, then you run it in a bug again, then you get to a blank page. There's already a patch upstream on the bug. The thing is that the bug needs to be SR used, so that our Maverick users can print again from GIMP.
If you have a patch, I want to work on stable update.
What?
If anybody wants to do the stable update,
To do what, Sebastian? A patch?
For GIMP, there I have reported a bug on this broken printing, that it prints blank pages. And on the bug report, there appeared a patch, an upstream link, and
I'm just saying, like, yeah, we have maybe bugs in Maverick, but we don't have like enough manpower to fix everything. So, like, if people come with a patch, we will apply it. But,
Right.
yes, this is the GIMP bug, and here you see there's an upstream task which is fix release, and somewhere here is also attached a patch. So it would not be a lot of work to make a stable release update here. Yes, here's the patch, manually apply the version of
So by the way, yeah, printing in Shotwell is something that we've always wanted to devote more energy to, but it just always seems to be on the back burner because there's something that seems more urgent. But in fact, this summer we were interested in looking for a summer of code student to work on exactly this. So if anyone knows anyone who's especially excited about improving printing in Shotwell, that'd be a really cool project for next summer, and we would quite happily hire someone.
All right. Not me, but I live near RIT,
Uh-huh.
and it's a technical school with programmers, but it's also got a school of photography. So it seems like there might be a good fix there that someone's kind of interested in both things.
Yes, it would be great if the guy who improves the printing in Shotwell is also into photography so that he knows what a photographer needs.
Yeah. So I can, there's a couple professors there that are using open source in their courses.
Yeah.
And I'll try to, maybe if you guys have a card or something, or I can give you mine. And
Yeah.
I'll pass this information along.
Absolutely.
Yes, and now for the time being, we should, here in these GNOME applications, simply activate the page size and drop away the page setup dialog. This, I think, is, and then also check whether printing actually works, which is simply, if you don't have a printer, set up the CUPS PDF, so that you have the PDF printer, and print into that. Install the CUPS PDF package, then you get it. And print into that, see whether actually the resulting PDF file contains the printout and has the desired paper size by looking into the PDF viewer, Acrobat or eWings, and then file properties. You can also see the absolute size of the PDF file, 3 inches or centimeters, and see whether this really works. As printing is also a basic functionality of all these applications, and so it deserves also being tested.
Can I ask a short one idea, because I'm quite excited to meet you guys. Because I work in the design team and I take a lot of photos of the shop work and things like that. Are you thinking of doing anything syncing up maybe with web-based printing? Thinking people like Moo, Photobox, and things like that, if there was ever an idea? Because that to me seems like another avenue that people are going down for printing. But I think better or worse, printing is quite complicated. And sometimes people don't bother putting themselves through that when for a few cents they can get something printed by someone else and know it's right. And I know that, I mean, I used to work for Moo, so I like print and cards and stuff like that. I know they've got a very good API. I know that Photobox probably have a similar, decent setup. That's something that might be interesting to integrate with, because when all your photos are on your machine, putting them directly to the place that you're going to get them professionally printed might be a really nice sort of solution to have in there. Maybe it's another summer code thing, but
Sure, I'll take this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'd love to have this capability. And I mean, we've thought, I'm actually not super familiar with the services you mentioned. We've looked at Shutterfly and Snapfish, and I mean, there are a lot of them, right? And so, and many of them have open APIs. Not all, but many of them do. One push, I think, in Shotwell 0.9, which is shipped with Netting Narwhal, is going to be for extensibility. And so, in particular, today, if you want to add a new publishing destination to Shotwell, your only choice is to sort of add code to the Shotwell core. And we've always known we wanted that to change, right? So Flickr and Facebook and all these publishing destinations should just be plugins. And so we really want to get an API in there where any community member can add their own plugins, export to their own favorite site. So yes, hopefully coming soon. Jim, do you want to add anything to that?
No, but I know that I do agree that is sort of, I mean, the story that I always tell is I had some photos from my family, and I sort of had a last minute Christmas gift. I had to give my mom, I want to give her those photos. And so I printed online at basically a drugstore chain in the United States, and I went downstairs and picked them up an hour later.
yeah.
It was all done online, including and so I think that's, I think you're right. The equipment is remarkably cheap and remarkably available, but at the end of the day, if you need a professional lab essentially to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's that thing as well.
Yes, the lab is also cheaper, and so it would be nice if you can, so to say, out of the application, print to that lab.
Exactly.
So at the moment you export to a folder, you mail that somewhere. or you
It
might
should
put-
not. It should not lead to the case that we neglect on-site desktop printing, but we should also add this option of lab printing. So because lab printing is cheaper, lab printing does not need equipment at your home, and so it's also a very important option. But also the quick, I have a printer standing right on my desk. I can quickly get to my photo. This we also should support. So we should support both ways of printing photos.
Yeah.
And another thing is KDE. KDE has also its shortcomings with printing. I hope someone of the KDE folks is here.
I don't think so.
Now I open a KDE application, DGCam, the most important photo application of KDE. Unfortunately, it is slow to start. I bet I'd opened it already today early in the morning before suspending the laptop.
So while we wait, maybe the organizers. So you said you work for Canonical.
What?
Do you work for Canonical?
Yeah, I work for Canonical.
And you're on.
My part
yeah.
is the printing part.
Can you talk a little bit about Canonical's efforts overall toward printing, or what are your goals?
There's Canonical's efforts for printing that they have contracted me. And what I've done in all the time is that I have improved the printing infrastructure, which means to take care of cups so that it works correctly and is pre-configured correctly, to take care of PostScript and to introduce things like PDF printing workflow and to make a system config printer automatically set up print queues and select the correct drivers, and to take care that PostScript does not segfault all the time and so on.
And then
Making pressure against the upstreams of all this software so that they fix the relevant bugs and so on. I've even fixed bugs in Poplar which made problems with printing.
It seems that compatibility with printers, just like compatibility with other hardware, is one of the ongoing challenges for Linux, right? And in our office in San Francisco, we've bought a succession of printers, and some of them work great with Ubuntu, and some of them work not so great, and it's just sort of hard to know in advance. So I wonder, are Canonical's hardware compatibility efforts, do those also include printer compatibility?
Yes, and this is what I'm doing, that I'm taking care of the printer compatibility.
There's a wiki page for it, isn't there? That lists all of the printers and whether they're 100%. Because I remember when I was buying a printer, I went to the wiki page and...
In Ubuntu, I don't know wiki page. I'm reading the Open Printing website, which is not a wiki, where the printer database is not a wiki, but there you can see how well printers work.
It may not have been an Ubuntu, it may have been...
And it's a place where you can look up printers and whether they work.
So then, if my printer doesn't work, it doesn't seem to be compatible with Ubuntu, where should I report the problem?
The problem, you can simply report a bug, it arrives at me.
In Launchpad?
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can also report a bug at the Linux Foundation bugs.linuxfoundation.org with the project Open Printing. But I cannot necessarily fix the problem, because sometimes it is a printer for which the community does not know the wire protocol, and the manufacturer does not support it with a Linux driver. But there can also be printers where we can help, for example, because its incompatibility is due to a bug in Ubuntu or something like that. Then I can forward this report to Ubuntu, for example, and they fix that.
Yeah, we've had pretty good luck with HP printers in our office anyway. And then we had a Canon, which just pretty much didn't work at all.
HP, in HP we are in a very good situation as HP makes free software drivers for their printers, the HP lib package, HP Linux imaging and printing.
Right.
For the full multi-function devices, this means also scanning and ink level checking and whatever they do, and fax and so on.
In a session yesterday, someone was saying that they didn't think it was possible to send a fax at all using the default set of programs that come with Ubuntu.
One can send a fax with an HP multifunction device. When you connect this HP multifunction device and queue is automatically set up, a fax queue is also set up, and you can print into the fax queue. It's a CAPS queue.
Ah, so there's no separate
Then
fax
there pops up a program where you can choose the fax number and cover page, and then you can send it to and then you can send it as a fax to the printer.
Do you remember this yesterday?
But it works only with HP multifunction devices. I think the proprietary drivers of Brother have also a fax driver, but I don't know how it is exactly used, how it is interacting with the user.
It looks like our time is running out.
Yeah.
Maybe we should, is there any?
Yes, we have only 5 minutes left. Yes, and one thing is, it seems that KDE is a major usability, a major QA problem. Yes, it simply goes into an endless loop.
I think it said scanning something at the top of the window there. Maybe it was just looking on your hard drive for photos or something.
Yeah.
The cataloging everything.
Yeah.
I hate applications like
That's
that.
just an on the command line to see whether there's...
Someone's asking a question about a GFC.
Yes, it looks very bad.
About what?
I think DigiCam needs also a lot of other work. Can someone of you try to start DigiCam? Perhaps someone of you is lucky to get this program started.
Or maybe it doesn't like being run in a GNOME environment?
I have already used it often in a GNOME environment.
There's only 20 minutes left. I don't think we have time for
Yes. Perhaps for DigiCam, I have to start it and suspend the machine so that I can bring it for the next UDS, so that it can run at my home half a year, and then I hope it has started before I come to the next UDS. Or perhaps simply report a bug to assure the stability through updates and through everything, because it's very, very flimsy, this program, the starting program. When it's once started, it's very stable and works very well. But often it simply does not start. And needs a lot of work, some hours, until you get it sorted out, cleaned out, what directories you have for it, and then you get it started. It's because in principle it's a nice program, but it has this problem with starting. It has internal databases, I think, which do not keep compatible from version to version. And so it's a principal problem of the program.
Okay, so
I think probably it's running now inside an endless loop.
I copy the notes to the blueprint.
Yes, it also needs work on the printing dialog, but I cannot do any demonstrations because the program is simply not working.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you give me the link by email also to this what you write up?
Ich habe eine Stückchen geguckt und ich habe das 2 Wochen.
Ah, so. Gut.
Das weg.
Ja, das stimmt. Ich kriege eine Notification, wenn
Yeah.
maybe they can make it part of policy, which is June. Maybe the door will do something with having you guys come out. Talk with the
Ich glaube, das Team, da kann man so ganz leicht Ich glaube, das ist schon
Das steht doch eigentlich also Fehler,
weil das ist von der PPA, also einfach so der PPA, die PPA Exchange
That's part of their.
also ich bin mir sicher, dass in etwa